Hey everybody, you're listening to the Combo Wombo podcast. I'm Chip Monk, and with me as always is the Mr. Gimpy. How you
It's
doing today?
terrible, bro. My allergies are fucking killing me. How are you?
Yeah, you still have that cat, right? Like that you
Yeah,
just you're like, yeah, it's my cat and I'm allergic and I'll forever have this cat now.
yes. The cat came with my wife.
Yeah,
So
and you're like, it won't be that long, bro. And I'm like, bro, cats live to be almost like 20 years old, man. You
the
can have that
cat,
cat forever.
the cat was already like 10 when she came out, right? It's
So you only got
been
like another 10.
it's been 6 years. So I mean,
All right. The cat's started getting up there in age.
fingers crossed. Nah, man, I'm
That
fucking
cat's gonna kill
dying.
you before it dies, bro.
I woke up and it was fucking staring at me at the foot of my bed, dude. It was like something out of a Stephen King novel, I swear.
Yeah.
It just woke up and I like look at it and there it is and he goes, I was like, oh, fuck you.
Just trying to get you to communicate with the god Anubis, bro.
It's
It's
awful,
that
dude. I don't, it sended me to
ancient
Anubis, brother.
Egyptian. Yeah,
It's the worst.
absolutely.
Oh, man.
Yeah, man.
How are you, though, bro? How's the game going? How's the placements in Overwatch going? What's up?
It's been out here living, bro. The game still on the back burner. I've just been doing more editing and stuff lately. I've been thinking more about the game though, and the game development, and I've been trying to just come up with like a schedule, like for my week, like what days I'm doing what. So
Okay.
like Monday through Thursday, I'm just streaming and only for an hour, which is not crazy, but I feel like it's like what I can keep up like high energy and have fun doing. And
Sure.
I don't want to like burn out because last time I tried streaming, I like burned out. I was doing like 4 hour days,
But you
and
did it every
it's
day, didn't you? If I remember
yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah, and like I don't know, I built an audience doing that.
You sure
Like
did.
that's the winning formula if you want to build an audience, but you also like burn out after about like for me it was like 3 or 4 months. I think a lot of people would probably be sooner.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I don't know, it's hard to keep up like good energy and like high level gameplay like when you're doing like that long, but
Yeah.
it's fun. It's fun to build communities and like talk with people, but like for me, like now I'm just trying to tell more of like narrative stories and like have fun while I'm playing and like let the emergent gameplay like tell like a story.
Sure.
And I'm trying to like just kind of enjoy and then I'm cut it down in the edit and like the edits where I'm having a ton of fun. Uh really the podcast is what started me streaming again.
Really? Oh, look at
Yeah,
that.
man.
Look at
Well, it's
that.
like because I got into editing for the podcast, and I was like, "There's not a lot of creative decision making when you're cutting up a podcast." You're like, "All right, this is kind of what it is." I try and throw up like what we're talking about on screen, make it interesting.
Yeah.
Uh, I do, like I try and like do nice things to make it look better. But like at the end of the day, like I my personal favorite type of cutting is like that slapdash, super fast pace, a high energetic, flamboyant stuff, like where you're just like you're really flexing your muscles and like you're using the machine gun of like editing
Right, right,
skills.
right,
You're
right.
like, how can I use everything that I know about editing in every scene of like this thing that I'm putting together? So
I get
I
that.
don't know.
I get that. That's cool though, man. I mean, you know, your meme content on Overwatch has been a breath of fresh air. When I'm like groggy and I wake up in the morning, I'm going to work. I see you uploaded something new. You should hawk your personal YouTube, man, because it's some gold. You're getting some gold out of there.
No way, man. I'm gonna be blowing up on my personal and I'm gonna be hawking this on there, bro. This is
Okay,
the long con.
okay.
I've become a dank meme lord to get people onto our podcast. I'm like, I also do a pod. They're like, this is the exact opposite of the shit that I'm into,
That
bro.
you did. Right. That
Yeah.
works. That works, man. Shit, bro. I've man, so Final Fantasy VII has still been my bread and butter for the week.
Yeah.
Really enjoying the change, and I honestly don't think I can go back to the OG Final Fantasy VII after playing the remake. Truthfully, the combat systems just, I guess they modernized everything, right? Um,
Yeah.
and even though I like turn-based RPGs, it's like my favorite RPG of all time, as far as JRPG goes, is Chrono Trigger, where you could see the enemies that you're about to fight on screen. You can walk to avoid them and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, just that, and not seeing and not having invisible enemies in an overworld that's like RNG battles. It's
Yeah.
it's nice, dude. It's nice as hell. I can't
So
even.
they
Yeah.
call it the action turn based ATB. Is that it?
Yeah,
Like you
yeah.
have bars and you're blowing up
Yep. So there, I really hope Square like takes that system and I know they're going to have the second part, soonish, and they're working on another Final Fantasy 16, concurrently with Final Fantasy
Did you
7 Part 2, and I really hope that they take this as a stepping point, because like Final Fantasy 15, the open world was a bit empty,
yeah.
and Final Fantasy 7, it's a lot more contained. And some parts are kind of barren, but that's because you're going from a PS1 thing of static backgrounds to the full game. But I also found it more focused. So even if I'm doing a side quest or the main quest, um, I'm never missing a beat. There's never a point where it's
Yeah.
dragging, and I think the game excels because of it. I think sometimes when you just go like the big fallacy for RPGs right now is everyone listen, the Western RPG has taken over, and they're all basically big open worlds where you can do whatever the fuck you want whenever the fuck you want. And I think that a lot of JRPGs are struggling to try and keep up with that when that's not their wheelhouse, because you end up with these giant open worlds that are barren hellscapes, and there's nothing to do. So I think if you can't think of anything cool to do like in there, just streamline your game, man. Focus it.
Yeah, tighten
Let's
it
just
up.
keep going. Yeah. So
Yeah,
so I
but you're
hope they
saying
take.
like you talk about Square Enix like hoping that they get it together, and you
No,
talked a
no,
little
they've
bit
they've
about
been
like
fucking killing it, dude. Like that's the
right,
thing. They've been killing it. I just hope
right,
they
like with seven.
continue this set.
But like with 15, that was supposed to be the engine and backbone that they built 7 off of, and it was like just a clusterfuck, dude. Like they completely dropped the ball. Like all the systems were disjointed. They didn't have like enough time to like ramp up. Like the behind the scenes of that game is extremely interesting. Like I don't know if you've seen anything
For
about it.
15, or you're
Yeah,
talking like the one
yeah.
with Noctis? I haven't heard issues with that. I haven't looked into it, admittedly.
Yeah, like when you start
Excuse me.
looking into it, dude, like Square Enix has become like very silo based. Like none of the teams are really talking to each other, and like corporate is like,
Okay.
no, we want you to build the engine, you to build the gameplay, and then like you just like kind of put it together. So it's like, boom, 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 like every game builds on each the systems and like each other, and like we build these bigger congruent worlds. And that has not been the case. Like every team's kind of been like stabbing each other in the back, like
Uh,
dropping the ball. They'll make like systems that only work for like this one engine in this one scene, and they're like, yeah, fuck everybody else. Like I know we're supposed to be building up like modular systems that can grow like with the games that we build, but nah, we're not doing that.
I will say, since they had their public shaming for Final Fantasy 4 Online 14 or Final Fantasy 14, ever since then, everything they have touched has turned to gold.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 15, even if they had issues, that was very well received, and Noctis and his crew has become like a staple Final Fantasy, team. I
Yeah.
feel like the Lightning games of 13, like outside of Lightning, who was the only character that was worth anything, everyone else in her party was forgettable.
Yeah.
And there's the infamous people who said that, oh yeah, Final Fantasy 13 was a hallway simulator. The game doesn't open up till like 30 hours in or something.
Yeah.
So
I,
yeah,
I want to say
and
they were also that was the first time they're trying to dabble with like DLC storytelling. So it seemed like they were trying to like maybe leave blank slates for them to insert like and that's just really bad storytelling, right? Where you're like, I will let B team handle this. It'll be DLC. And it's like nobody wants to buy DLC for forgettable character number 7, dude. Like
yeah,
you gotta make like you gotta hook players in, you gotta create the interest, and then like people will be more interested in like, oh, I want to know more about it. Like you can't just have like was it JJ Abrams mystery box? You're like, if we just leave
yes.
everything very vague and like mysterious, then you'll care. It's like, no, it's just bad storytelling, bro. Like I'm with these characters like 80, 90 hours. Like there should be plenty of time to give me some of their backstory, some of their depth, their motivations. Like, you
Yeah.
know,
Some of
I
the
should know how they prefer to pee, dude, by that amount of time.
I think some things with DLC story bits. I like how Final Fantasy VII introduced that, because you have like a Yuffie backstory that you can play through post beating the game, or we could like stop, go to it, and then go back to the game. I think expanding on a character works better than getting like a separate, because I believe 13, like you said, did it to where it was integral to the story as well.
Yeah.
Like you're missing out on a chunk of the story if you don't have the DLC, which is scummy. But the 360 era, the PS3 era, developers were figuring out how the fuck to do DLC. They didn't know. There's the
Yeah.
infamous horse armor with Oblivion, where they're like, we could charge out the ass for everything.
Yeah, like
So
buy this horse armor.
even
It's
though I think the horse
premium.
armor is like $6 or something like that, but still, at that point, like I'm not gonna, and it did nothing. I'm not gonna pay.
This is pure cosmetic.
What's interesting though is people will pay that for cosmetics now. Like I think
Yeah.
back then it was just people were like, what the fuck? But
I think
yeah,
a
man,
lot of it is just like online games though as well. Like if you have like a not online game, it's like, do I really need to stunt to myself? And it's
yeah,
yes. The answer is yes. I have a buddy who's just showing me like his Destiny swag. He's like, check it out. I got like this whole outfit. He's like, what do you think? I'm like, yeah, that's nice, I guess. But he was like showing it off and like, and I was like, all right, man,
he's
this is
posing
cool.
for
But
you,
like,
just turning
yeah, he's
around,
like,
showing you that ass.
he was like, hold on, I got this other outfit I gotta show you. I'm like, I'm good, bro. Hold on. I gotta go. But yeah, man, he's definitely like showed off all of the swagger. He was like, I got like I forgot what they're called, the where it modulates the color and stuff of no matter
Sure,
what it is.
sure.
Like you can wear different armor and then like it just kind of shows like the same armor on top of that. Transmute? Something like it.
Okay,
Is it alchemy? Is it transmigrate? Whatever it's called, dude. Whatever fancy marketing terms they threw on there to like
right,
make the
right,
character look however you want, but people are into it. People like enjoy showing that stuff off. Like uh
right, right.
I've never really been into it like that, but I do enjoy like a good looking character. Like I did pose like in Cyberpunk. Like I got like a nice outfit. I
Yeah,
did all the modifiers where like all the like where it's like this is kind of like garbage tier armor, but like I'm gonna modify it so it's really strong just so I look good. Because I want all gold everything. I'm driving my gold car, my gold gold suit.
understood,
Yeah,
understood. Yeah, that's
because
not
I
me.
care.
What's funny is like I'm a
And that's first
default.
person. That's
Yeah,
a first
yeah.
person game. Like
Right, right.
you don't even
Doing it for
see
no
it.
one. I'm like in fighters or whenever we have a bunch of skins and stuff. Like I always buy all the DLC, but like I'm a default gamer, man. I get the main outfit and just stick with it. I'll do a color swap. That's about it. So I'm not one to
Swapper.
buy it. Yeah, yeah. So that's all it is.
It just gives more player agency and choice, like what they want the different, you know, unique look of their character. And
Yeah, dude.
that's I don't know, like you said, like it's not maybe for us because we're like older and like I'm just like this is fine. But like I do have like a bunch of stuff like in the League of Legends. I have like a bunch of classic skins.
Yeah.
In Fortnite, I had like a bunch of rare skins, but like because they're so rare, they just kept bringing them back, so kind of killed,
Ah,
like
the
any
rarity.
rarity.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I
that like it factor that you also get like it doesn't last, man. You can only stunt, and then they're like, "Oh, people really like that skin." We're
yeah.
seeing that like people posting videos of them playing in the skin are getting hundreds of thousands of views. What if we could get hundreds of thousands of people to give us $5 each?
Right, right. I think League of Legends was the first game where like the skins, I'm like, these are dope, and I'm gonna buy them. So that's like the only game where I went ham on skins.
Yeah, and they
So
also left like a path to get them in the game for the most part, for like most of it, and then like other ones, like it's like all you can do is buy it with cash. So
yeah, yeah,
they did a good job of like teasing you and then like getting you already buying in with like your fake coins. You're like, oh,
yes,
I'll just get one skin that they give me, and then you're done, dude. It's over. Then you're giving them your mom's credit card, and
yes,
now
sir.
you have you know fizz alternate skins.
Yep, yep, for sure. Now, there's one thing I just kind of was thinking about quite a bit of actually. I've been outside of Final Fantasy. One of the games I've been playing as well, but I didn't play it this week. Was Super Ghouls and Ghosts on the Switch, which was on
All
the
right,
Super
it's
Nintendo,
such a
right?
curveball, bro.
It's not really a curveball because like
You're like, yeah, let's play Final Fantasy 7 and Super Ghouls and Ghosts.
no. Here's why. Here's why I was thinking about it though. So I bought Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection, and I was like, it's been a while since I've played the OG games, and
Yeah,
I went and played Ghouls and
it's
Ghosts,
a
the NES
Capcom,
version.
right?
Yes, sir. It's the guy. It's Arthur, where he's the knight, and if he gets
Yeah,
hit, his armor breaks in his underwear.
yeah, bro. He's a exhibitionist.
Yes. So
It's
I
just a
was like,
graveyard, bro.
let me just play through the old game just to refresh myself on it. I've
Bro, that
loaded
old
up
game's
the
hard as balls.
I loaded up the NES one, and it was too antiquated for me to really enjoy.
Yeah.
Um, so I started up Super
That's
Ghouls
a
and Ghosts.
polite way of
And
saying that game is hard as balls,
no,
dude.
it's not even that. It's not even that it was hard; as that it was ugly to look at.
There's that too. Was it
uh,
like 320 by 420 like resolutions?
oh, that's you're way higher than that.
Yeah,
It's like 240 by 112 or some shit. It's
that
ridiculous.
blows it up.
Yeah, but that's not even the resolution. It's just the art style. The sprite work was pretty ugly on that, and I realized like for the time it was good, but yeah,
Yeah, I think like in
yeah.
your head you always add like more pixels than what was there because like I always do that with like Mega Man. I'm like, oh yeah, Mega Man looks great. But then I go back and I look at it, I'm like, oh, he looks really bad. You looking like a chunky boy. Looking thick boy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So I'm playing through Super Ghouls and Ghosts, and it's fun. I'm getting through. I do the first run because you know that game when you beat it, you have to beat it again to get the true ending. So
yeah,
I'm going through my second run, and playing it on the Nintendo Switch. So I'm doing the SNES like library, and it got me thinking, why the fuck does Nintendo hate their past? You know,
it's really weird, right? Like,
so, and I realize like it's a Capcom game, but come on, it's a Super
I,
Nintendo game, so let's dive into it a little
and I
bit
know they
here.
always had like those weird ass ironclad contracts too. Nintendo was like infamous for, where they're like, you can only do like 5,000 cartridges or whatever, like a quarter. Like
Yeah.
they would like, like they sold the licenses on like how many cartridges you could print out, like where you could distribute them. Like
Yep.
you had to like have like an X amount of years, like deal with them to even like be in business.
Seal of
So I
approval.
would, yeah, and you would you know, have that Nintendo seal of approval on
Yes,
it.
sir.
Can't have you playing track and field on the bootleg, bro. Like it's
Yep.
people
Yep.
break their thumbs.
Yeah, dude. So
But
I was, thinking about. So Nintendo is they have. It's not even arguable. They have the best back catalog of any developer. Since
yeah,
they've been around for so long and they've had so many bangers, they're the reason that gaming became what it became. Is Nintendo? The 80s, the 80s, that NES console saved the gaming play space as we know it, and with such a huge back catalog, they really hate diving back into it. They would much rather you like do a remaster or a repackage and charge you $60 than they would of just throwing all these games on a channel for you to play.
yeah.
It's
I think
it's
it's
absolutely insane.
the data driven nature of like the Japanese culture. Like we've said before, like they'll put out like bite sized things where they're like, oh, have the retro NES where it's like a mini, NES with like 50 games, and they're like, oh, it didn't sell that well. And it's like, yeah, because they sold out, bro. Like you didn't make enough of them. Or they'll put out like packs of games, and they're like, have these five random ass assortment of games. And it's like nobody bought five disjointed games. It's like I guess nobody's into this, and it's like, bro, like the value propositions that they keep putting out are like ridiculous. And they I don't know if it's like kind of like you're saying where they have the mindset of like if we can remaster and just sell for like 40, $60, like the same product, like that's better than like a $5 or like a free service that we put on that gets people on our app every day that to play like these old games.
Yeah,
Like how
yeah,
good would that be? Like a Netflix of Nintendo library where they just you have like daily quests where it's like, oh, play, Ghost of Goblins, collect, X amount of kills. And then
yep,
like you're getting like the dailies done, where you're like you can compete with your buddies and be like who's
yep,
got like the best runs. They got scoreboards, leaderboards, achievements, all
yeah,
that.
dude.
Like
That'd
this
be
seems like a
incredible.
no-brainer. Yeah.
Yep,
Like but they're like, nah, we're good. Like even if like they had cross-platform where you could do that on the phone as well. Like you just sign in with like your Nintendo ID and you're like, oh, I got my access to my library and I can also do stuff here. What if you had palette swaps in the OG games? You could sell people on DLC for your old games. So you're like, yeah, now you can get a new outfit for Mega Man.
that's hilarious. So I was, it got me thinking too. Like, emulation has been like Nintendo hates it because it leads to illegal ROMs. Because the true thing of emulation is you're supposed to, have your own use your own games to make your own ROMs for
Yeah.
yourself.
They opened
Um,
themselves up early to emulation as well because the old NES had like a disk drive for a lot of, like in Japan. So you could put like the
Floppy
regular,
disks.
yeah,
Yeah.
floppy disk, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
See, like I got in early on NES emulations like back in the 90s because like they were all online already because people would just like copy the disc and then upload it to the net. So like there was definitely like ROM sites. So it's like they kind of did it to themselves with how easy access like they had. And I think that's why they had the more stringent licensing things when they moved to cartridges because they saw like how much of their like IPs just got out on the net and they're like, why is this happening? But like, bro, it's you weren't gonna sell like all those copies of that game. Trust me, pal. Like,
So the thing with it, man, is emulation has been preserving and it is our as gamers, it is our museum. You know,
yeah,
it is a collection of great works or whatever works, you know, just contained for someone to look at in the future. There's many games that I would have never found out about if not for emulation. Emulation also leads to fan translations,
yeah,
like you know, Earthbound was actually Mother 2, right? Would you have
yeah.
known about the original Mother if not for the internet and ROMs? Someone to crack that just for you. So, Mother 3 was never released in the states. Um, you know how we've played it because someone got a ROM, someone tinkered with it to fan translate it, and then we have a game that Nintendo, for whatever reason, will not re-release. If they did, that would sell like hotcakes. I don't understand. It's like they like money too much to put an effort into a lot of these things, but they also hate money to where they
Yeah.
won't just give us, you know. Theologically Earthbound 3, you know, so Mother 3. So I just don't get that. And they go
It's
after
weird,
these.
man.
And here's the
It's
thing: I'm not against them protecting their IP, right? Like they famously just a few months ago went after one of the biggest ROM sites and put the kibosh on it. And this guy just was like, okay, cool. So he re-uploaded everything after the legal injunction was done. Then they went after him again. They're like, what the fuck are you doing, bro?
so
um,
he can't stop me.
so I think one of the court things is he can't actually like ever play a Nintendo game. I don't know how the hell you're gonna enforce that, but it's like
Right.
he's like you can't play.
Nintendo's
They're
got
like you
like an
can't play
ankle
anything.
bracelet on him. It's
Yeah,
like
dude.
a
He goes near
24/7
he goes
security.
near a Game Boy and gets a shock.
He's got a shot collar on
Exactly,
from
dude.
Nintendo. Yeah, man.
And Mario goes, "It's a me, shocking your heart."
Yeah,
you
so
know,
they're just giving him that Pavlovian response every time he tries to touch Nintendo. He
exact.
starts. Uh, what was that movie with the? Oh man, I got thrown out for a loop with
You're
fancy
good.
bit of the old ultra violence. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah. Clockwork Orange. Yes.
Yep, the Clockwork Orange.
Yep,
It's
yep.
like
He's like, it's a me,
open up.
motherfucker.
It's like it starts throwing up, goes into a fetal position.
Exactly.
It's over. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
it's weird because they have like this huge back catalog and they don't really put it anywhere and they don't re-release this. Like you said, a lot of fan translations that came out where it's like you never would have heard of like these games like this like Dragon Force 2. They
yep.
want to say this like Dragoon, Legend of Dragoon for like the NES or Super Nintendo, where it's like a turn-based strategy game.
That's
It's
Saturn.
is it Saturn? Yeah,
Panzer Dragoon Saga is what you're thinking of, but yes.
yeah. So there's a lot of dragon games. They like their dragons in Japan,
So
bro.
that came out for the US, but it had a very limited release, and I would have never have played that if it wasn't for
Yeah.
emulation. True, and that was an amazing RPG. Which, if anyone's remotely interested in the Saturn, the emulation is pretty good now. Check out Panzer Dragoon Saga if you can, because it's
I want to say
fantastic. It
that
holds
this is
up.
a pretty timely podcast. Like, didn't Good Old Games just kind of deal with somebody to release some of their games, their older games on line finally?
No, I don't know. I don't know. They're always
Oh
cutting
man,
deals, man. I don't know.
so we have to
I'm not
pause it. Just
into it.
pause. We've got to look this up.
Okay. All right.
This is important breaking news.
All right. Go on
For
with your.
you, for you listening, that was an instant. For us, I was in there doing high level data research. I had like 8 monitors up. I was like the hacker in any movie. I was trying to find this. It's Konami, bro. Mother effing Konami.
That we just talked shit about.
Yeah, we're like, oh, they just become like a brand licensee. Like they don't care about making new games. So they put out Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, Silent Hill 4, and some other classic Konami games are now on Good Old Games. And they finally finally added modern controller support to them. So that was August 28th. So yeah, dude, it was like stuck in there. I was like, I know somebody. I was like, Capcom, how's it?
Yeah,
Nintendo, somebody's out there releasing these games finally on a
yeah.
place where you could get them legally. Like I know
What's
Sega's always tried to do this, and what
What's
was it?
interesting is Sega, before the Sega Mini, they would just license out whatever to these like bootleg emulation stations where it has
Yeah,
like 50 games in one and like shitty controllers, shitty support for TVs or whatever.
I think like
Before the
Bleem was a
Sega Mini
big
came out,
company.
Bleem was actually for the PlayStation stuff. They actually did it well. They were one of the only emulators
Yeah,
where you had to pay for,
yeah.
which is
They ended up in
insane.
a lot of lawsuits
Well,
as
yeah,
well.
yeah. Weren't they the ones who actually let you play PS1 games on the Dreamcast as well, or was that a
Yeah,
different company?
yeah.
Was it
No, they
Bleem?
had like
Okay.
NES and stuff. Like they're like, you can't technically do this, but if you put this disc in first, and
Yes.
then you put it in this disc,
Yes. Because I
who's to
remember playing.
say?
I remember lending my uncle who never had a PS1, but he really wanted to play Resident Evil 3.
Yeah.
So I remember lending him my copy, and he just bought the Bleem disc and played through it on his Dreamcast. So yeah, it's pretty insane, man. So emulation does crazy things. Now, as far as the legality of it, obviously it's a gray area. Like I mean, I'm a big proponent of emulation, and I have a Raspberry Pi with fucking everything on it. You know,
Yeah.
uh,
I don't know. Let me tell you this then. Me and my buddy, the Codester, we're like, hey man, let's watch Mortal Kombat, the new movie. This will be great because he has the HBO streaming service.
yes,
So he's like, all right, I'll put it on and I'll just stream it through Discord and we'll like watch it together. This will be great. I was like,
yes,
yeah, all right. It'll be like we're in the same living room together, even though we're one state apart. This will be
yes,
awesome. So he tries to do it and it's blocked
yes.
uh, in Discord. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna go to this bootleg site I don't know about, bro. We could do this. And so like I'm like clicking it, I pull up my hacker screen and I pull it up and I'm like, boom, now we're watching Mortal Kombat together.
Right.
But it's weird because he has legal access to it, but it's like
You do
still,
not have legal access to redistribute, though.
yeah,
That's in the
without
terms of
like
service.
rebroadcast. Yeah, it's the huge fine.
Yep.
If I was writing a movie script, that's what happened as far as as far as legalities go. But yeah, like so it's weird, even though like you're not technically, I guess like legally you're redistributing it, right? Like it's
Yes. Yes.
even though like technically it's like you and your buddy just sharing a copy
But
of like a
what stops him from it being him and a million of his
50,000 of
buddies?
his closest
Exactly.
friends. Yeah.
Exactly. So I get that. See, I can't be mad at that. I get big annoyed, and I think actually they have a party streaming option. So if you had a HBO Max account, you could do it at the same
Could
time.
get in there.
Yeah.
All right, I'll have to look into that.
Yeah.
Because they did
Disney Plus has that definitely.
because we talked about it because I think he would have known about it because he was like, yeah, you can start up on your stream at the same time, and then
Yep.
we'll both we'll just sync up the and I was like, ah man, it's not the same.
It's
Uh,
pretty. No, no. I'm guessing you don't have the paid version of HBO Max.
I'm gonna say I do for the purpose of this podcast.
So the man's a liar.
How dare you, sir?
But yeah, no, so legally, right? I am for developers protecting their IPs. It's
Yep.
such an oxymoron, and I'm such a hypocrite for this. But
You are, dude, because you're like, oh, we gotta protect Mortal Kombat the movie,
I'm-
but not
I'm-
Mortal Kombat the game.
I'm admittedly
That's
a
where you
hypocrite
draw
to
the
this,
line.
right? Because sometimes developers can't redistribute their games because of publishers, right? There was a case of, oh man, it's one of those things with you where I'm not going to pause it. I'm just going to go over it. Let's just use an example. Let's say
We just throw out wild braggadocious statements here. This is all for entertainment purposes only. Like,
there was a developer. I want to say it was one of the Leisure Suit Larry games. With
call them out, dude.
and they couldn't like redistribute. I want to say it was Leisure Suit Larry 4, and I'm probably way off
like
base.
a titty in it or something.
But no, that was fine. It's just because he didn't have the rights to go back to it. They lost them. So
I mean, you
these
see this
developers
happen all the time
wanted to
with
go
like rebroadcasting TV shows or movies where they have to like take out songs because they don't have the license for that song anymore.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So that's the big part of remasters of games too. Some games you'll have where it has a completely different soundtrack because they lost the rights to what was featured. And that's
This is why we need to get big, bro. If we had a sponsorship for virtual private network VPN, dude. This would be the perfect product placement opportunity.
for stealing all of your media.
Well, no,
Yeah,
because
no,
like we're talking about licenses and stuff, and like it's a
true.
big thing. It's like some of it's like only available in like different regions. So
Yeah,
in the US, like we're region one, and I still can't find a good solution for closed captioning that just translates everything for region one. It's ridiculous. But that's my own personal saga that I'm on. Uh, but yeah, so you get things licensed specifically for countries where like you only have access to certain things. You have things where like they lose the rights to like I think it's like Mortal Kombat the cartoon, like they can redistribute that. Like there's weird shit. There's a lot of weird stuff where it's like this is only available on this streaming service or this streaming service. Like uh
yeah. That's publishers fighting against each other though, because like
yeah, but it's
Hulu
basically the same thing that is at the root
gaming.
of the problem here for the game developing, right? Because
Yeah.
like we just saw, like Konami just put things out on Good Old Games. It's
Yep.
like they could be doing this. Like Nintendo could just like have like a library dump of like, here you can come to Nintendo.com and get any of these games from us officially, but
Right.
they don't, and it's weird. It's like,
True. True. So there's one thing I just kind of wanted to say that emulation does that no other first party has done except for Nintendo recently is netplay. Uh,
yeah,
s- Playing co-op of all these old games that I haven't gotten to play co-op before, or maybe I've never played, has been incredible. And give me one sec.
so scenario, your friends a state apart, and you want to play Contra together.
Yeah,
All of a sudden, you only have one option, bro.
and the other thing
Just you
too
and
is
50,000 of your closest friends want to play Contra.
yeah, exactly. But I mean, rollback netcode, the biggest innovation in the fighting game space was because of emulation. These
Yep.
guys were playing, Street Fighter 3 online, and they were pissed off because the game has frame specific, parries, and it was unplayable with the traditional net play method. So I believe it was. I don't want to say developer
And you
names
also
because I
have
can't
like
remember,
games
but
like Smash Bros that never had net play in it, right? Like
yes,
now you put it in there, so now you can play Smash Bros with the friends from the GameCube because it's the best version. It's the
yes,
most balanced version of the game ever with high level gameplay. Like they're nerfing the whole Smash Bro game. They're trying to get rid of any sharp edges and any high level play.
true, true. But so
So
with
yeah, go
with
back to the
rollback,
GameCube.
no, with rollback, man, that wouldn't have happened without emulation, and the industry knows that it wouldn't have happened without emulation, and it's one of those things where. Like Capcom and the old arcade heads from back in the day, I don't think they like the fact that people are playing the arcade versions of their games online, but they're not going to stop it because they know that keeps interest alive in these
Yeah.
games. Like Street Fighter 2 Super Turbo is the arguably the greatest fighting game of all time. It's the most balanced and it has the most fundamentals that you can learn. If anyone's looking to get into a fighter, they want to start from base and get a good working knowledge of it. You play ST, and the fact that you can play it with rollback means like all these frame specific things you have knowledge of, you can pull off. And I for one think it's incredible. The other thing with that emulation has done is it has enabled the like cloud services. A lot of the times you were playing older games off of an emulator because it's easy to run to get these things working. So we're at the cusp of cloud computing, and the fact that we can play full games. We can play Destiny 2 off of a cloud server right
Yeah.
now with just a controller hooked up to your TV.
It's fantastic.
The basis for that was other companies that had these emulators and stuff online just without being on your browser to play.
Should we
it's
Babe
absolutely
Ruth some
incredible.
shit here, dude?
Go
Should
on.
we hold a Street Fighter 2 Turbo online tournament edition? Host it?
Host it? Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
like a year, dude. Like when we get big, we'll call it the Digital Dojo Street Fighter 2 Throwdown.
we could. It's that thing. So Street Fighter 2 is probably the game that is, yes, it's probably the most balanced and the best fighter to get into, but it's also the hardest because it's been out for 30 years, and
Somebody get
all of the
Maximilian
all
on the
of the
line.
old heads still play it, and they're really fucking good at it. It's
Yeah, dude. We gotta get
um,
the old heads in, dude. Like that's all it is. We gotta have like a thing where it's like the prestige of it, not necessarily like a monetary reward because we don't have the money. But what we could do is we'll hit up thrift shops until we can find a karate trophy, and that'll be it, dude.
no, dude. I will say this though, and because of emulation things like that, the fighting game community, and I will go back to it because I think it's the best community in gaming. It's so accepting and so cool. There's shit talk, but it's always in good fun. You know, it's always good natured.
Yeah.
Um,
It's usually for
I've
entertainment purposes
I've
only. It's
I've gotten a chance to play, you know, a set with like Justin Wong, right? This dude is like he's the god of Marvel versus Capcom 2,
I wouldn't tell it to
CVS
his
2.
face though.
No, I tell him. He knows. He knows. Don't worry. He knows.
Trust me, he knows.
But I've got to play when Capcom vs SNK 2 got to like a lot more support with an LDC Bear. He hosted a stream on Twitch just because he was playing it, and he just took all comers. I got a chance to play sets against, you know, Evo champ Justin Wong, dude, and I got my ass handed to me, but I would have never gotten that chance in my life unless him and I happened to be in the same spot, you know, which
Yeah,
how
bro.
likely is that to happen? So and you know, that's how you know that's one of my favorite
Bro.
games of all time, and it's because of emulation. Capcom didn't go out and re-release CVS2. You know, they're sitting on their laurels, they're sitting on their hands. To even re-release that game, they're gonna have to rework with SNK, redo some licensing stuff, and what's happening is legal is getting in the way of creativity, legal is getting in the way of art, but you can't avoid that because gaming is such a hard nut to crack because you have one of the most creative mediums out there, but it's also the same creative medium that's hampered by, I would argue, more red tape than movies and music.
That's a bold statement, bro. I feel like
I don't think so.
I would say the copyright trademark laws in America are really bad, and they're basically becoming Disney laws, where it's like every time like the trademarks come up for like Mickey Mouse, they're like, oh, I guess we got to push it back another 15 years. Like they keep pushing it back like 30 years, like because I think it was like 99 years after death is like how long you
Yes.
can hold on to it, and then they're like, how about we make it another like another 100? Like it's just gonna be in perpetuity, dude. They just don't want people, making bootleg Mickey Mouses, dude. Like that's all it comes down to. Like and like that's stupid. Like you should have like you better branding of like the Disney brand to be like, oh, if it's not official, I don't want it. And do like just make high quality good products and like don't worry about people like bootlegging your stuff. But I don't know. Like maybe there needs to be different protections at different levels of the game too. Where it's like if you're like $1 billion cap company, like you don't get the same protections as somebody who's like $1,000, 10,000, 100,000 a year, profit company.
Hmm.
Uh,
But
I don't know.
here's the thing, with movies, right? If you create a movie, your producer, the like Disney, they will have the rights to that forever, right?
Yeah.
Music, whoever owns your masters, they have that forever, and musical artists get fucked out of their own stuff
Eh,
every day.
Look at T Swizzle, man.
It sucks. Yeah, um, but gaming, you have to rely on who owns the source code. You got licensed music in there. Who owns that? Who gets licensed for it? Do you get to redistribute the game using the same music, or do you have to renegotiate a new
I
licensing
was looking
deal?
at the
The
people who did the composing for uh Sakuden 2.
okay,
And, like, just, like, work as, like, a dude at, like, a coffee shop now, like, all these old composers for, like, these NES games, like, they got I think the guy who did, like, the original, like, Final
Sucker Two is
Fantasy.
on the PlayStation. Like what the hell you doing?
Oh, no, I'm saying, like, all these, like, old NES, like, composers and stuff, like, the MIDI people, like, they did not make money, they'd have, like, no rights to that music, dude, like, a lot of them,
Yeah.
like, now, like, it's kind of like a weird thing because they got paid at the time, they're like, "Here's $100," but, like, you made some of the most iconic music of all time, and, like, you have 0 rights to it now, so it's a even like music for like those old games are weird. Like a lot of the coding's weird. Like a lot of the old software companies didn't let people use their names because they're afraid of like being poached. So like they didn't get like credit in the actual game.
Yep.
Uh and like this is kind of like this isn't like in the long ago. This was like in the into the late 90s they were doing this stuff. There's a lot of like extremely toxic and prohibitive like practices that were put into play to stifle the creative teams and like their ability to make money and find work like outside of like a software company that they're at.
Yeah, they didn't want. Poaching was a huge risk all the time. The creator of Adventure was the first one to put his name in a game, and it
Yeah.
was like shocking because Atari didn't want anyone to poach their programmers for something else. And Nintendo, I think
You could even go full Konami circle here with
Shigeru
Kojima
Miyamoto was
pulling.
always credited. I'm pretty sure. I think he might be the outlier. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure
I
he
think
was always credited.
it's like a vice president though of Nintendo, right? Like he
Not at the, not
well,
not with
not at the
the
time.
first one. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
he's just such a badass that they're like, you know what,
Yeah, didn't he
back
like
it.
single-handedly like reprogram like Tetris or something to get on the Game Boy like in a weekend or some
It
shit?
was him or either Gunpei Yoko. I can't. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's something like that. Yeah, it might have been Gunpei just
god
because
tier
he's
programmers,
the god
dude.
tier of Game Boy. Yeah. So it's funny, dude, because gaming is in such a point where we're constantly evolving, and we're in the next gen consoles, we're in ray trace graphics, we are in hybrid VR spaces, and it worries me because I'll also, and I think it's come off on this pod too, that I'm a film buff as well. I can watch movies from the 30s, I can watch movies from the 40s, 50s pretty easily right now.
Yeah.
Um, because of distribution services, things like that. Uh, and at this moment in time, I can play older games at the moment because of emulation. Nintendo would have it to where emulation itself, they've tried to make emulators themselves illegal, and
Yeah, dude.
they failed because people are
That's
saying
preposterous.
preservation,
Well, like
is
even
a
like
true
again,
thing.
this is not like a new problem. Like they sued EA for like building like reverse engineering how the games got on their licensed Nintendo cartridges, and that's what the
Sega,
like yellow, yeah, Sega with the yellow
yeah,
tabs. Like they
yep,
reverse engineered that. They were doing it to get around like all these like licensings and fees. Like so they're
and
reverse engineering like SNES,
yep,
Sega. They're figuring out like all this stuff to like break their like
copy
patented locks.
protection.
So yeah,
Yep,
so they did it, and like judges were like, no, it's perfectly fine for them because they did it themselves. They figured it out. They didn't like do anything. They didn't steal anything proprietary from
yep,
you. They reverse engineered it, and that's perfectly legal. So
yep,
it's also becomes weird in video games with like mechanics now, where you have like your Dota's lawsuits with people. They're like, oh, you're using like the Defense of the Ancients style, this League of Legends style gameplay,
yeah,
and they're like, so they're trying to like get into mechanics. There's a fucking Konami, dude. I think they owned mini games in between for loading screens. And so because they
yes,
owned that,
yes,
like you couldn't put like any fucking mini game when something was loading
because they had
for they
Galaxin
owned it.
in the
Yeah,
middle.
bro.
Yep, yep. So, even though Midway did it anyway because it said "fuck Konami."
Yeah, as you should.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm seeing. I mean, we're talking kind of negative about all this stuff, but I see opportunities, my man. I see licensing opportunities for us when the podcast takes off for us to start buying up some of these older games and start remaking them. We make a combo wombo distribution platform.
There's a. That's awesome. I can't. Oh, the other way
I'm
around
telling
it
you, I'm
back in
Babe
the
Ruthie,
day.
dude. Like we're doing Street Fighter tournaments. We're buying up old IPs. Like we're moonshotting this bitch, dude.
I was gonna say one of the other things too to get around like Nintendo's rules was Konami, fucking Konami. Every time I think that's gonna be the fucking thing. They made shell companies to make more games to get around their limit of games you can release a year. That's where the original fucking Metal Gear came out on was Ultra Games. It wasn't even Konami. It was Ultra Games in the
Yeah,
states
bro.
because they couldn't be asked to wait 6 months to release another game. They're like, nope, fuck it, we need that money now. And
Release
they're
it.
like,
Hit the
let's
button.
make a shell corporation. What are we gonna call it? Ultra Games. Oh, okay, cool. Boom. So, yeah, it's when you get Legality into a creative space, you get the shadiest motherfuckers like Konami, those at Konami to get around things.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, the movie industry is like no better. The music
oh,
industry is no
movie
better. Like,
industry, the movie industry, everything is made at a loss. You
yeah,
make
dude,
everything
like
at a loss, and you
creative
can't get
accounting,
text on
dude.
it. Yeah, yeah. Creative spaces also have creative accounting where you don't have to pay for dick if you.
Yeah, like somehow every company gets bankrupt, even though they like had like the biggest special effects budget in history. They're like, yeah, we're shutting it down, and they're
This
like,
movie
oh
cost
man,
$500 million to make. Oh yeah, would it make $20 billion? Oh yeah. How the production company do? They closed. They shut their
yeah,
doors. It's
had
too.
shut it down, man. It's unfortunate. On paper at least, because when you go down the block, they're still all there. You
Yeah,
know, they
yeah,
just have a
yeah.
different name on the wall. Like, you know,
Exactly, exactly. It's incredible, man. So I think that Nintendo, I think secretly, but they love it because emulators and things did all the groundwork for them. They could just
yeah, they
sue the.
licensed that out, like for the Nintendo Retro game that they put out, the mini NES.
Yep.
Like that was licensed out emulator. Like you see this
Yes.
again with like what Steam's doing with like the Steam boxes that they're putting out. That's all running on Linux. Like a lot of these old emulators are running on like Linux software, open software, and like they'll do their best to hide that stuff. But like you click like the about it, it'll like tell you like, oh, this is just like the retro
The
arc.
JPL license,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
Yeah,
like, oh damn, you just like made a new skin for a retro arc and then you sold it. Like that's crazy.
yeah,
But
but
it's,
they
you
can get
know,
away with it because they're the original IP owners of the
yeah.
ROM that you're playing. So
But
yeah,
they're too lazy to put in the work to make like their own. Like it's, yeah, it's, they're like, oh, somebody else already did this. I mean, you see this with like the Blender software, Blender 3D, where like a lot of bigger companies like Adobe now like contributed huge to like their fund, and they're like putting out like plugins and stuff for it. You see it with like damn, Adobe's been buying up everything. They bought up, like Substance Painter, like, and they
oh, they
also
did,
did
didn't
that for,
they? Yeah.
yeah. Uh, I don't know. So they buying up a lot of stuff, and but they'll fund it as well. And you'll see this with IBM as well, where they also fund up like a lot of like open source projects. But like, it always seems like lurking in the back of like their business minds. They're like, how can we take this over? How can we make it not open source?
Yes, yes. Flash. You remember when
Yeah,
Adobe bought Flash, Macromedia? Like Flash 3 was super fun. It was back in the cowboy
it seems
days, and
like Apple
Adobe.
killed it.
Yeah, well, it was.
Dying.
It was dying already, and it was
On life support.
too open to exploits. So like it was Virus City. It was
Yeah,
the gateway to every computer. So
it's the
it had
gateway
to
to
die,
hell.
and it led to Adobe Animate, which Adobe Animate will never be as good as any of the Flash versions. I feel like you could get some decent stuff, but there is something about old Flash where it was more intuitive. I think
Is anyone
it's
preserving those old Flash games?
yeah, Newgrounds.
Okay, they're just all
Newgrounds is
theirs.
big in that. Yep, yep. There's
Just
there.
McMillan and
Newgrounds is
crew.
fault. Newgrounds is basically the good old games of Flash games.
Yeah,
they have their own proprietary like thing that runs
they made the
old
best
Flash
games.
stuff.
Flash games. It's
It was,
just like
it was, it was on the
like
it was on
games
the
could be
portal.
anything. There, it's just a pure form of expression and joy.
Yes.
A lot of it was trying to be like Edgelord City as well, but like it kind of added to it, because I feel like it's a
Yeah.
time and place type of thing.
Yeah. So let's do this, man. We've been talking about preservation. We've been talking about emulation. And I think we've both
We gotta
have
set
had
goals,
moments
bro.
in our
Like, we're
time.
gonna buy up
No,
some of these older games. We're gonna start off the Street Fighter 2 tournament, dude. Like, we're doing big things.
I just wanted to ask
22, bros, our year.
your
We're
favorite
taking over.
emulator and your favorite game you played because of the emulator that you couldn't have played before.
Uh, Favorite is definitely gonna be like I want to say it's Nesticle.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
but like again, like you could get that back in the '90s, so it's kind of like my first one
Yep.
where I could like play like a lot of games back on Windows 3.1. Uh, it was crazy. It was like an eye-opening, world-changing experience because I had like the games on my NES at the time, and I was like, I can put them on here too. Now both of us can play Final Fantasy at the same time. This is nuts. Like, and then I would say like favorite game that came out of that. I don't remember the name of it because it's in Japanese, but they just re-released it. I want to say for the Nintendo Switch. It's where like you play as a fisherman girl, and you like throw out a fishing line and like it lets you swing around and bounce up around and stuff. Like and you catch different fish and you throw them in bubbles, dude. It's great. I'll try. I'll put on the screen. I'll put it here because I'm
Okay.
editing this one. But
Yeah.
yeah, so that game that's an amazing game. You play a little
This
fisherman girl. No, you'd be on the other way, right? You'd
okay.
be
Yeah, this will be over here. Okay,
oh
got it.
holy crap.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. What about you, man? What's any nostalgic memories?
Um Chrono Trigger, actually. I didn't have that on the SNES, actually. The game's
Those
expensive as
carts were
fuck.
platinum. They
Yeah.
platinum press carts, dude. You can find them for like less than
Yeah,
$300-400.
exactly. So my favorite emulator of all time, um, Z-SNES, even though there's way better things now, but back then that was the Super Nintendo emulator to
It's like
use.
the first one with NetPlay too.
Yep, yep. And Chrono Trigger, man, I never got to experience that as on the actual console, but that became my favorite RPG of all time, as I've mentioned before. And playing it, I played it on a 55-inch projection TV in the early 2000s with surround sound as well. So I had the console experience, but it was because of an emulator that I got to experience this.
My
Uh,
favorite memory was Four Swords. We had that on emulator and we played me and my
the
three
Link.
buddies. Yeah, oh, it was great because it was like, yeah, we're not all. I think our one buddy had it, but it was like, bro, none of us are gonna go buy. I think it was a Game
Game
Boy
Boy
SP
Plus. It was
Advance or something like.
yeah, yeah.
It's like, yeah, we're not buying the Game of Boys and Four Swords just to play this game this one time at your house. But we all had our computers there, and that was like one of the best memories I have is like playing that game with my buddies. So
Yeah, man.
that's
The other
emulation.
and the other thing too is, and I mentioned this on a very early pod when I found out that Saturn emulation was playable now, is improvements. You have 4K textures for Ocarina of Time now. You have these crazy ass shaders that make the game. It makes the game look like how you remember.
Yeah.
And I think that's incredible. Um, it's like
My
there's some
streamer buddy, Death Taxes N64, he's been
okay.
playing this like Legend of Zelda remake where you're Yoshi now inside the game. He's been like trying to speed run that, dude. The game looks crazy.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah, so
Emulation.
you get crazy shit like that. I played through Dino Crisis for the first time, the Dreamcast version plus 4K textures and like reskin. It looked incredible, right? And it's because of these dedicated people who are all like, I remember the game looking like this. Let's make it look like this.
Yeah.
It's incredible, and it a lot of it serves as the basis for a lot of these remasters, which I think is hysterical.
Yeah, I mean
Um,
they have that in the Diablo 2 edition, the Reforged or whatever, where
y-
like they have like a key, I think it's like FRT or something, where it puts the old textures on top of everything.
yep.
And you can see the game how it was like originally looking, and it was scuffed. You're like, ooh. It's like let's play the new one, and I was like, oh, this looks okay. And then I put on the old one, I'm like, oh man, that's not how I remember that thing looking at all. Like it's rough, dude.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. And I want to shout out to the other emulator, not even emulator, but just time. I modded my original Xbox and had XBMC and emulators on there, and just having that with every game of all time, was like the greatest time because not
Is
only did
this
I
full
have
circle, bro? You're getting the
it.
new Xbox? Is it
Oh
time?
yeah, the new Xbox, it's immediately getting mod shit on, or it's immediately getting emulators on there, because my kids will experience all these old games through emulation, and I am happy as hell because of it. I got to say, support emulation, but also don't get mad at the developers for protecting their IPs because you would do the same.
I would also
It's
say, support the developers as well. Like if
and
they're
support developers
still
of
around.
emulation, and yeah, and
Well,
buy
no,
buy
like
the
the
old games. I
developers of the
see.
games.
Yeah, buy the old
Yeah.
games. Yeah, yeah. If you can,
If you
if
have
you
the
can.
opportunity, like I said, there's stuff coming up on Good Old Games. There's some stuff like on Steam now with like Sega,
Yep.
Konami has some stuff. Nintendo's store has like some stuff on there. It's just sparse though. Like that's the problem. Like I love again, like much like us having like the movie owning it, it's just way more convenient if we can just stream it. Like there's something about like having all of your games like in a single distribution library of like, oh, I can just launch this. It's all my saves and stuff are in one place.
Yep.
It's kind of nice.
Yep. It's that old adage, right? Since Steam became a thing, and it's been so easy, and the sales have been so easy. You know, I haven't pirated a game in like 15 years. You know, like probably
Yeah.
more. There's been no reason to because everything's been cheap enough, and I get like other people live in countries where these games aren't available, or maybe like the
Yeah.
price to
Like we had
like
the same
difference is
problem like we
fucking
just talked
crazy.
about.
Yeah,
There's no
so I
translation.
get that, but I think it's
That's
been
what good
proven
old games started as, was like a
that
bootlegging site where they would make fan translations of games and they'd like
that
sell them.
that you can you interrupted me, just messed me up, but shit. Anyway, you can. Oh yeah, accessibility equals. You know, you won't pirate it at that point. I can't remember the actual verbs I was going to use. Thanks, but yeah, the more accessible it is, the more less likely people are to steal it. Just because, like with Netflix and all the streaming services, you know, why deal with sketch sites to watch anything? You know,
Yeah.
it's kind of goes to show that's why streaming services are popular. That's why consoles with their old whole back catalog are doing well. It's like Microsoft Game Pass is doing well. You don't have to fucking pirate Halo or anything. You just could play it.
Yeah.
Just load it up. It's there.
Just do it.
Like
It's right there.
and I think developers are slowly getting that you just make things accessible and you'll be fine. But also don't forget where you came from, and Sony, they like the Astrobot game, showing their history was fantastic. They have not forgotten where they came from.
Yeah. And it becomes more complicated like on a scale of magnitude when you like have like these older MMORPGs that are dying, and uh there's people who make like fan servers and stuff. Like you saw this with the original Vanilla WoW, and they got hit with the lawsuit city because they're like, oh, we're just going to throw that out here in a little bit, so we got to protect our IP and shut down these. Yeah.
But they didn't get hit with a lawsuit until Blizzard was ready to,
I mean, you saw
do
that
it
with like
themselves.
Nintendo kind of does the same thing with like Metroid. They only went after like the fan made game when they were
ASMR
ready
too.
to, yeah, when they were ready to release like a new Metroid game, you know.
It
So
was their remake of two, and
yeah,
and their remake of two, well, good. The fan remake was still better.
yeah,
Like
it's just
yeah.
there's just way more time, care, and love. Like there's a same adage for like digital security where it's like you only have X amount of time and money to put into security, whereas when you release it, they have infinite time and money to break it. Like,
True, true. All right, bro. Well, I think we got our points across. I hope this is kind of
the
enlightening for
ramblings
everyone
of a mad
listening.
lad.
Exactly,
With
exactly.
Babe Ruth in high level 2022 goals, squad goals,
Yeah, dude.
tournaments, buying up old IPs, uh, all this. We're gonna have commercials on the pod, dude. It's gonna be nuts. It's all to fund our bigger ambitions, the bigger the takeover.
Take
So
over
like,
for
subscribe,
sure.
share, tell 10 of your friends to tell 50 of their closest friends,
So,
50,000 of their closest friends.
to
Yeah.
watch it in perpetuity. Yeah.
Yeah.
And next week I won't have horrible allergies, so it'll be good. It'll be good. All right, Chip. All right, everybody. Take care. We out of
On
here.
that pussy.